I'm Beth Allen, QLF President, and welcome to our webinar series, Voices of QLF. We are so pleased that you've joined us for this exchange among professionals who have dedicated their lives and careers to the protection and preservation of the world's oceans, seas, and lakes. Our guests today will share their insights on marine conservation and the challenges and opportunities of planning, implementing, and managing marine protected areas. And now, may I ask that our panelists unmute your video and audio. We're just waiting for you, Ayman. All right, while you, okay, great, wonderful to have you all here. So it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our guests. QLF alumna Monica Calvopina is a marine biologist specializing in the protected areas management of the Galapagos Islands Marine Reserve. Monica is an advocate for science-based ecosystem preservation, essential in the current efforts to create the world's largest interconnected corridor, linking marine protected areas along Ecuador, Colombia, Panama, and Costa Rica's coastline. Monica joins us from Ecuador. Welcome. Mahmoud Hanafy is a professor of marine biology at Suez Canal University and the scientist advisor at HEPCA, a leading NGO in Egypt, working to protect and preserve the uniquely rich biodiversity of the Red Sea. Dr. Mahmoud has just returned from the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh and joins us from Egypt. Dr. Mahmoud is a colleague of the late Amr Ali, QLF alumnus and managing director of HEPCA. Amr died much too young, not too long ago. A lifelong champion of the environment, his legacy lives on. Amr is Egypt's, quote, giant in marine conservation. The next panelist is QLF alumnus Ayman Mabrouk, a marine spatial ecologist. Ayman is working on a contract with NOAA. Ayman has extensive experience managing protected areas in Egypt and the US and is currently involved in high-profile projects on the Great Lakes, the Chesapeake Bay, and the Gulf of Mexico, among others. Ayman joins us from Maryland. Welcome all. And now on to our first discussion. Monica, I'd like to go to you first and briefly tell us about your career and what has inspired your career in marine conservation.
Hi, Beth. Nice to be here again. And hi, my other colleagues. As you mentioned, I am a marine biologist. I am from the Galapagos Islands. I was fortunate to join the QLF program for training professionals in my early career 20 years ago, more or less. So I was very fortunate to be there and join all the QLF team and other colleagues doing this training. And now, 20 years after that, I see that we have been doing a lot of work now, not just in Galapagos, where I am from, but working more with connecting projects in the region. As you mentioned, we are trying to put together all the efforts of marine conservation together with other colleagues in the region, in Costa Rica, Colombia, Panama, and Ecuador. So that's it's very nice to recap all the progress that we have been doing in these 2 decades, almost 2 decades now.
Wonderful. And on to you, Mahmoud.
I am Mahmoud Hanafy. I'm professor of marine ecology at the South Carolina University, Department of Marine Science. I'm working with the Red Sea for almost 40 years, working on living resources of the Red Sea on research and management. But my favor is that I'm the scientific advisor for an Egyptian NGO, HEPCA, Ergada Environmental Protection and Conservation Association. You know, we are doing a lot of work because I deeply believe in the co-management approach. And I was the key person in declaring of 3 protected areas in the Red Sea, which is one of the North Islands of the Red Sea that's declared as a protected area. Also Wadi Gemal as a national park. And, you know, a small place called Samadai Reef or Dolphin House. We are working on different issues of conservation. I'm proud that I was a key person to install the mooring installation and to reach for about 1,400 installation of mooring to avoid the boat to be anchored on the coral reef. I'm working now on the climate change issues and the impact of this on our reef, our coral reef, Egyptian coral reef. And I like to call it the Great Fringing Reef of Egypt. And I think we succeeded to declare it as a hotspot. Then yesterday on the conference, the Minister of Environment declared it as a protected area.
Very, very, very exciting. And on to you, Ayman.
Hi, my name is Ayman Mabrouk. I'm a special ecologist. I'm working on a contract for NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Marine Spatial Ecology Division, Biogeography branch, and I'm based in Silver Spring, Maryland. Just want to give some information before I come to US and work for NOAA. And I was actually working for the Red Sea, managing main protected area in the Red Sea. And I'm grateful for this opportunity that make me meet Dr. Mahmoud, because he was my supervisor when I was a grad student. And we worked together on protecting the Red Sea for over like more than 15 years. So that's really, I'm really appreciate this opportunity, and I want to thank QLF really for this opportunity to bring us together. And so at NOAA, I'm mainly doing habitat mapping and seafloor mapping, and also what we do at NOAA and in the biogeography branch, we also do environmental and ecological assessment. And we mainly do this work for mainly for national sanctuary, marine national sanctuaries, and which is, you know, main national sanctuaries for now. It's all over the nations. We have 15 of them. So this work, mapping and ecosystem assessment, it's actually most of the work was for the national sanctuaries and also other critical ecosystem environment in the Caribbean. And we also do coral reef monitoring for in the Caribbean. So like most of our work is to provide the resource managers and the decision makers with the information they need to better conserve the marine environment. Maybe later I could like give some examples of what we are doing in mapping and habitat mapping as one of the main activities we are doing. But yeah, we have an ambitious goal to cover the Great Lakes. It's one of our ambitious goals, and is to cover mapping the whole Great Lakes by 2030. And I just came from like a conference was mainly for this, which we call it the Lake Bed 2030. Yeah, so one of the things which I think that it's really important is habitat mapping that will help establishing new marine protected area and also conserving the marine environment.
Yes, we'll definitely get a chance to hear more about that. Let's now talk about the core aspects of your current work and important initiatives that are most meaningful to you. Let's start with you, Mahmoud.
Yeah, I think, I'm working now with HEPCA as NGO. And I deeply believe this is very, very successful story, actually, regarding, as NGO doing, very, very effective work supporting the conservation of the valuable resources of valuable and limited resources of the Egyptian Red Sea. HEPCA just started, as NGO, started with 12 person work as divers and dive operators, and the approach was just to find a way to stop anchoring of pleasure boats on the coral reef. They installed, tens of mooring installation. Now we this is at the beginning of 1990s. Now we have 1,400 installation along the coast of the Red Sea. This is one, if you know how much we have 2,000 pleasure boats working on the Red Sea on daily basis. And this is one of the problems we are facing, which is overuse of the resources, simply because when the development started, it was completely based on quantity rather than quality. This is before, unfortunately, that the development started before conservation. Now I think they are taking a lot of action to stop this and to reduce this. Then the second success story of HEPCA that as any NGO started with solid waste, just as cleaning campaign underwater, above water, just to collect any debris from the water. Then we came to, this is one of the lessons we learned, without proper management on the land, it will be very difficult to control marine debris, in the Red Sea. So we started to do on the management of solid waste. We are dealing now with 400 to 500 tons of solid waste on daily basis. We are cleaning the major two cities in the Red Sea, Hurghada and Ras Mohammed, Marsa Alam. Starting from cleaning the streets of the cities, collecting of the solid waste and doing recycling for this. Our target is to reduce with a reject of only 20%. We are working on to mitigate the overuse of our reef by creating a new diving site, creating artificial reefs, because we have a diving rate in some places exceed 200,000 dive per site per year, and this is very, very huge. So we are trying to think some old military equipment like tanks or something, and creating some rigs, so to reduce the potential of diving on the natural reef. We are also supporting the research. We supported more than 15 program of master and PhD on marine research, marine resources. We are very, very interested, and we are trying to support research on. This is a personal, effort that we are doing a lot of work on the climate change and the coral bleaching, and I can say that we have at least 50 publications, scientific publications, and the articles revealed that the Egyptian coral reef could be one of the last refuge for coral reef worldwide. This is very clear. Based on that, HEPCA with the Ocean Agency we submit application for the ocean mission blue, and we declared the great. This is, I use this title actually to be a brand, the Great Fringed Reef of Egypt as a hotspot. Great Fringed Reef simply because we have more than 2,000 kilometer length, and at the same time, it's one of the last refuge for coral reef worldwide. So, I think everybody, accepts this idea. It's supported with UNID, and now our government realized how the importance of our reef, and yesterday is declared as protected area. Okay, but we are doing now we based on part of this research and effort. This is it was our effort. We are supporting community actually, but we deeply believe the local community especially, because it's they are very, very important partner in the conservation process. But this is based on benefit from conservation, because we have a serious problem of overfishing, and we have to reduce, and we reach it to the critical level of fish stock. In this case, scientifically, I have to stop fishing completely. In addition to that, the value of live fish is higher, extremely higher than catch. Okay, for example, a single shark, mega shark in Brother Island, we estimated the income from this a single shark by $200,000 a year. So it's very, very, the biodiversity in Egypt is very, very high because of tourism, actually, as touristic project. So I think, we are supporting the fisherman community, not, but we are training them. We are creating what's called community-based tourism. We are trying to change their mentality from, or the income from consumption use of the living resources to non-consumption use of the living resource. By this way, the best way is to involve them in tourism, actually. Some communities in very unique area, very good landscape. So we provide, improve the skills, improve their housing, and marketing the place to attract tourists to go there. All of them, they are now engaged in tourism, okay, ecotourism, saying, and they forget about fishing. So I'm doing all of this just to reduce the fishing potential, at the same time increasing the ownership of these people, because they are getting some benefit from the conservation itself. They are very keen to conserve the resources they have, because this is the attraction tool for tourists. And I think this is very, very successful approach. Even by providing them with some we call it eco tent, just to put it in the deep range of the mountain. This is so that it can attract tourists to go there, and they are running this tent, as a touristic project. And they are working now. They have exchanged their experience with the tourists going there, and I think it's very, very successful until now. We would like to enlarge this as much as we can. The main strategy in this actually is to as I said, to raise their ownership, to improve their lifestyle, and to reduce the fishing potential, and also to maximize the benefits they are getting, and to exchange their experience, especially in the mountain area. This is what we are supporting, investing in youth and children, doing, a lot of education and, awareness campaign all the time. This is mostly, working who are engaged, workers who are engaged now. We have also a restoration program for, we started with the tridacna, the clams, okay? We have a hatchery for this. We are able to produce 200,000 of clams on annual basis. Part of this would like to restore part of the reef, which is exploited by the clam population is exploited due to overfishing. And at the same time, we are exporting some of these clams outside. We would like to engage the fishermen in this, why I call it green farming of Tridacna. And we have a very ambitious plan to introduce also sea cucumber to be part of this as a green farm, because sea cucumber is completely disappeared from the commercial species, disappeared from all of marine area we have. It's very hard to find a single. I'm trying to find 20 breeders to start this work. It's very hard to get it. So what we are doing now, we would like to implement a restoration program and to involve fishermen in this as another source of their income to improve their style and to reduce the fishing potential and the depleted stocks of fishes. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. And Monica, could you tell us about some of your work and most recent initiatives that are really extraordinary?
Yeah. Well, now I am working in the implementation of the new marine protected area of Galapagos, which is called Hermandad. Hermandad is the marine reserve that was created this year, early this year in January, officially. And then during all this year, we have been working in the mapping of this marine protected area in process with the stakeholders to build the management plan. So this is very important, but I would like to go back to the history of this marine protected area and why it was created. So in Galapagos, we have two marine protected areas. One was created in 1998. At that time, we concentrate the efforts, I think, in more the coastal conservation, in fishing, stocks, and species that we knew at that moment that were very close to the coasts. I think with the research that has been doing during the last 2 decades, we have more information about open areas and about species that migrate from one place to another. That is why we identify the necessity and the importance to, create bigger areas. And we think that Galapagos was big and was doing his job, the marine protected area, the previous one. But we identified that was not protecting some species that migrates from Galapagos to other places. That is why all the community and stakeholders and NGOs and the government put in place a proposal to extend the actual marine protected area in Galapagos or create a new one. So that is why after like 3 years of negotiations and working with the stakeholders, working with the government, we finally have this new protected area. And it is very important, this protected area, because it's at the edge of the previous one, but it's connecting the other protected area in Costa Rica. So now we have like a channel connecting both countries in the marine park. The main objectives of this protected area is, protect species like sharks and turtles and whales that migrates, because we were protecting all the species that were inside the marine protected area in Galapagos, but not the ones that migrate. And another important issue is that Ecuador is one of the biggest, fishing tuna country in the world. And we know that the fish are not forever. The fish can be, deplete, and we have to find sustainable ways to fish and sustainable way to have these, these resources. That is why the other objective of this protected area is protect areas where the fish can, be fine and have a better surveillance, and we can have more stocks of these species, and will be sustainable way for the fishing. We know many people lives from these incomes too, and it is important too. So we wanted to cover these 2 important sides: the conservation of the marine ecosystem, but in other part, the sustainable fishing that depends many people here in Ecuador and in other regions too. Now, this year, after the declaration that the president made in early 2022, we have been working in this management plan. The management plan is the document who has the strategy. This has the strategies for management and the implementation of the protected area. We know that this is a big challenge because this area is the first one that is in open seas in Ecuador. It's beyond the coast, and we need to implement more control and surveillance. We need to implement monitoring. We need to implement some components to see that this marine protected area is being effective in time and is, is accomplishing some objectives why it was created. So we are doing that. And this year has been very, very good in timing because we have already all the information, the data, and has been very successful, the meetings and the participation work with other stakeholders. So that is very good. We hardly, in Galapagos, we have been always working in a participatory way. And I think this is very important because when the authorities make some decisions, but the stakeholders are not agree or the community doesn't know about the decision or about this protected area, it's very difficult to implement, and it's very difficult, to make all the rules easy for everyone. So I think this is an important steps because we have been working with everybody during all the process, and at the same time, the main core or the group that we work inside the technical part is with a lot of people that have different backgrounds. That is very important because I have been working sometimes in science, but now I am more involved in management plans, in management strategies and tools. But I have colleagues working with us, and they are more researchers, scientists, because it is very important to have all the science available and the knowledge so you can support all the proposals. And at the same time, we have persons that are experts in fisheries, because all these marine protected areas has that important use, that is the fisheries, and we believe that the stakeholders have to be involved. So the other part for this campaign and declaration of this marine protected area has been the communication. All these kind of projects and process has to be along with a big strategy, a good strategy of communication. And I think we are, facing a new area with that, because now we have things that we previously, in the 20 years ago, when we created the first one, we didn't have internet like now. We didn't have like the social media that we now have. And I think for managers, now it is very important to incorporate all that kind of issues in the projects to give all the messages to all the audiences. And what important audiences now is, the youth and the people, the new generation. And with that, we knew that we have to include a communication strategy with social media. So now we are at the end of this month, we are finalizing the management plan. And then I think early next year, we are going to start the monitoring of this new area. And we are very excited because that what is happening here in Galapagos, in Ecuador, is happening in other countries. Like Costa Rica, they create a new protected area too, Bicentenario. In Panama, they created one, extended one of them, the Coiba. And in Colombia, two protected area, new marine protected areas were created. One was a new one, Paris, and the other was extended. So I think this current of extending marine protected area is not just here in Galapagos, Ecuador, but it's regional, and I think it's worldwide message, because we need to protect more the marine side. and we need to protect more beyond the coast. And that is happening. And the good thing is now we are coordinating, not just inside our countries, but regionally. And I think it is important because all the species in the marine park are for sure going everywhere. They don't know frontiers. So that is why we have to look the coordination as a big key element for the marine conservation.
Thank you so much. And Ayman, on to you.
Okay. So as I said, in our branch, biogeography branch, was in NOAA, we mainly work on habitat mapping, seafloor mapping, and habitat mapping, which is it's really very important for other offices like NOAA offices, like Office of National Marine Sanctuaries, which is another like office within NOAA, which manage all the national marine sanctuaries in the nation, and like also important for other offices like the national NIMS, National Marine Fisheries, which is managing all the fisheries in the federal water, and so habitat mapping, what we are doing actually, I'm going to give an example how this help in establishing marine protected area. So lately we were having a project in Wisconsin, Lake Michigan. It was a proposed sanctuary. It's in the Great Lakes. And we were having a project to do the ecosystem assessment, which is one of our main activity, where we do like a study. It's like an environmental study about the sanctuary, the proposed sanctuary, like water quality, biodiversity, invasive species, and all this, and create like an assessment for environmental assessment for the proposed sanctuary. And the other part was to do like what I'm calling it's seafloor mapping, in order to create the habitat map for this proposed sanctuary, because you can't like manage or propose a sanctuary or without knowing what you have in this sanctuary, as you all know. So this this project actually, like we work on this project for 2 years, and in the habitat mapping part, we used our research vessels, and we use our echo sounders like multi-beam and side scanner echo sounder in order to come up with the bathymetry and other data that we use to create the habitat mapping. So this was really a successful story, because just this year, after we managed to create this habitat maps and develop this study, and for the proposed sanctuary, we got the sanctuary declared this year. It's Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary, and this is mainly to protect almost 37 shipwrecks. Most of them are registered as a historical places for the nation, and there's also like 80 proposed shipwrecks that's gonna be like, it's still like to be like potential shipwrecks, we call them in the area. They still need to be registered. So besides, it's a very important spawning area for the native fish species in the Great Lakes. So this is actually, as I said, it's part of an ambitious goal to map the whole Great Lakes, which I think it's like too optimistic, by 2030. But we are going on the track, and we have done in the last few years a lot over there, mapping the Great Lakes. And we even now dedicated a ship over there now doing this work regularly, and I believe the next 3 years I will be so busy working on projects mainly on the Great Lakes, mapping the Great Lakes. So this is one part of what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to find mention here the work I'm doing related to MPAs and marine protected areas. So I think this is one big chunk of work I'm doing for MPAs. And the other part also related to MPAs here, it's assisting the national marine sanctuaries in doing the condition report. You know, we have here 15, in the US, we have 15 national marine sanctuaries, like almost covering 620,000 square kilometers. So we had to do this condition report every 10 years. Not us, but like we are assisting the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries in doing this report now. And this report is, as I said, it's every 10 years, and it will help the management and the management plan for these sanctuaries. So we already did, and when I'm saying condition report, it's also like an environmental study where you also like do an assessment for the status and trend of the environment within the sanctuaries, like the water quality and how the water quality affects the coastal community and the people, and how is the biodiversity inside the sanctuary doing. And so it's like 15 questions you had to answer. How about the eutrophication and like inside the sanctuary? So, and of course, how is the ecosystem surface doing inside the sanctuaries? And so that's what we are doing right now, and I'm one of the team who's actually doing this condition report. And we did the one for Olympic Coast, and it was published this year. And we also did the one for Cordell Bank in the West Coast, and we almost done with the one for Greater Fairlawn, which also on the West Coast. And now we are moving to the East Coast, and I'm doing now, after this meeting, I have another meeting with the Gray's Reef National Marine Sanctuaries. We're going to discuss their condition report, and also the Thunder Bay, which is in the Great Lakes. So that's actually, you know, it's very important to do this kind of assessment for any marine protected area, which you hardly do, like, and every 5 or 10 years, okay? And most of the marine protected area, they don't have the capacity to do such a thing, you know? And so our department, or actually it's a branch of a division, biogeography branch, gives the assistance for the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries, and in order to do this condition reports. So this is like 2 examples of what we are doing to help marine protected areas in the nation. We also, you know, we are like mainly, as I said at the beginning, we provide the decision makers and the managers of marine resources with the information they need to better manage the resources. And as I said, most of this information is in 2 categories: habitat mapping and ecosystem assessment. So, and these decision makers and managers, marine resource managers, some of them are within NOAA and some of them are outside NOAA. And for example, of people we are working with outside NOAA, like it's the BOEM, the Bureau of Energy, And I think this is something related to what Dr. Mahmoud was saying. He just came from the COP27, and for sure they discussed the clean energy and how clean energy is really important now. And BOEM is having also an ambitious plan for wind energy farms all over the West Coast. And we assess them in identifying and mapping these areas on the East Coast. And one of the projects I participated in was the New York Bight wind energy farm, where we mapped the seafloor and we created a habitat map for the area over there. And as you know, this is really important because before you go and do the wind farm for this area, in these areas, which is already assigned for leads, you had to make sure that you are not harming the environment and what substrate and what type of habitat you have over there. And that's something was really important we did in the last few years. And we keep working on it because we still have other projects along the East Coast. So I found this is really important to mention as we are talking about also a clean energy, and wind energy is one of the main topics that have been highlighted recently. I think that's I have other examples, but like I think that's one of the some of the most examples. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and I applaud your efforts, all of you, and your many accomplishments. And finally, let's talk about the future of conservation and your thoughts on the future of marine resource conservation and what gives you hope for the future. Where do you find that hope? Let's start with you, Dr. Mahmoud.
I think the approach of HubSpot, this is, I think, I like this personally, the approach of HubSpot, because, you know, if I'm talking about the Red Sea and the fringing reef of the Red Sea, the great fringing reef of the Red Sea as a whole, I think this is very, very encouraging to have, you know, a reef which is, you know, all of the, you know, the scientific publication talking that this could be, this will pass this century, you know, without any type of bleaching. I think this is very, very encouraging. So declaration of this, you know, what I mean here, that conservation is not a nation task now. With the climate change, I think conservation is a cross-boundary, you know, it's a global task. After the situation we are in now. If I have a reef like the Egyptian reef, for example, it can be a hope in the future. Everybody talking now at the end of the century, maybe all of the coral reef will be gone. Or if the temperature raised by 1.5, 90% of this coral coverage can be, you know, can be gone. So I think the approach of the HubSpot to focus on this, especially the valuable area from the global perspective, is very, very important to do it now. And I would like to repeat this again. Conservation of this HubSpot is not a nation task, it's a global task. You know, and this is very, very important, simply because all of the marine ecosystem is just connected. It's not like terrestrial one. It's, you know, it's very connected, very open ecosystems, and we have to focus on this. All of the genetic resources area, all of the, you know, the valuable productive area for the marine. So I think this is very important. For us in the Red Sea, I think we have to take a serious action, you know, after what the science said about coral reef, about Egyptian resources of the Red Sea. I think this will highlight the situation that one of the challenges is how to, you know, to protect this valuable resource. And, as I'm always saying, even as I said on the pub, it's one planet, one fate or destiny, and one chance. So I think this is, we have to focus on this. I think the next generation will be much better, it's more, recognize the situation. That's what I'm feeling in Egypt. That, the young, they are very, they are educating, more aware, they are accepting the idea of conservation, and I hope in the future it will be, an active, very active in the conservation process, hopefully. Declaration of the protected area is one, it's very, very important also to keep. We declared until now in the Red Sea 50,000 square kilometers of marine and terrestrial site. Okay, now we declared the whole core of the Red Sea as protected area, but implementation and taking action to preserve this is more important than just a declaration.
Right.
So let us hope that this will be good. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. And Ayman, where do you find hope in future conservation, regional and global?
I am optimistic, and I believe we should focus on successful stories and successful efforts in marine conservation. Yeah, we all know it's successful marine conservation efforts. It's not fast or even cheap. Okay, and the process is not fast and cheap, and it's always take time and always require trust and collaboration between different organizations and different decision makers, and on the local and on the regional and also on the international levels. So for example, like for marine protected areas, like there is an ambitious goal that to have 30% by 2030, 30% of the ocean. But are we close? No. we almost now 8%. Half of them, like, they still allow fishing inside the protected area. So it's not, we are not close from this goal, but that means that we don't need to be like lose hope, or we still need to be optimistic and focus on the success story about from these main protected area. And we have success story in many places. Like I will start even with the one from Dr. Mahmoud. We have a successful story in main protected area in the Red Sea, and we should highlight these successful stories to show that there is hope and aware people about this. So, which I think is very important. Because some of these main protected areas, they manage to recover fish populations. They manage really to conserve coral reef and different critical ecosystem like mangrove. And so focus on the successful efforts. It's very important. I'm not saying we neglect what the bad news and what's going on, the bad and the threats which we are facing right now, but we had to always give a hope and show that we have successful stories that we had to support.
That's right.
So, and this will also bring us to that everyone have a role to play, like because it's not just a one-man show, it's a cooperation between different authorities, as I said, local, national, and international. So if we didn't get all together and everyone played his role in this, it will be too late to recover from the losses. And I keep saying, like, environmental education, it's a key issue. I remember when I started with QLF in '97, I was for environmental education. The program was for Middle East environmental educator. And when I came back from my visit to QLF, I had to open they told me, okay, we need to open the visitor center for Mabrouk, which I was managing at that. And we had to like open it, and the minister is coming, and you have like 3 months, and we had to do this, like, and to give this visitor center actually was a key issue for educating people. So what I'm trying to say, like, education is very important, because if you don't keep educating people on a different level, like people and up to the decision makers, you are not gonna win in this fight. So environmental education is a very important key issue here, and be optimistic and give examples of successful stories on the different level, not just like marine protected area. You have other successful stories in conserving endangered species, you know, and like the humpback whale, for example, that it rebounds back, and the green turtles in different places of the world. So, and restorations effort, for example, for mangrove. And so we keep be optimistic and give this message, as I said, to the people from the higher level and the lower level, because this will help a lot.
I really love that wonderful optimism you have. Thank you. And our final message from you, Monica.
Thank you. I wanted to talk something that already Ayman mentioned, and that is very important, because I think that is why we are together in this main goal to protect the oceans and lands, the 30% by 2030. So I think this is an important message, and I think even as Ayman mentioned, now in the oceans we have the protection of around the 8%. So I think these small steps that we are doing here in region with Galapagos and the other countries, and the lately news in the Red Sea, are contributing with this, to reach this goal. So I hope that during the next years we are accomplishing that goal. And for the ocean, it is very important, because the 30% I think is a start point, but I think we should protect more than that, because it is difficult to conserve all the species and the fishes if we don't protect at least the 30% of the oceans. I think one challenge that we have now with the marine protected areas is not just the protection, but we are in the era of the restoration. We have to restore reef corals. We have to restore some fishing stocks that were, were not good, as Mahmoud mentioned with the sea cucumber. In Galapagos, we had the same. A very bad example of the sea cucumber fishery, and now is in the process of recovering. So I think this is the era of restoration of some marine species and stocks, and that is very important too. Even with the smallest steps, go ahead and learn from bad examples and good examples, and do better. And the other that Ayman already mentioned, something that is very important in all this process of marine conservation, is the community engagement. The community engagement with some important things that for the community, it is very important that we provide all the knowledge and science, sometimes in the language that everyone can understand, but it's important to tell the information, because the people want to know why is important the marine protected area, what is important to protect this or this species. And the other thing is, like, the people should be included in all the process of decisions. For example, creating the marine protected area, implementing the protected area, all the stakeholders should be involved, and keep them informed about why the decisions have been made, what is happening. I think this is very important, but then if we do that, all the people feels that they are included and part of all the process and decisions. And I think you have a better strength a protected area or decision has been made, all the people is supporting, and even authorities, even the managers are changed, you for sure will have that area in place and all the community can protect it by itself. So that is very important.
Thank you so much. And I've just appreciated your time and remarks. We all have. So in closing, on behalf of all of us at QLF, I extend my thanks and great appreciation to our panelists for participating on this webinar. Thank you, Monica, Mahmoud, and Ayman. Keep up the great work. Our Earth needs you. We need you. Please join with us for the next webinar on Thursday, December 15th, and Phil Huffman, QLF Senior Vice President for Regional and Global Programs, will discuss QLF's work in the Staying Connected Initiative, a binational partnership dedicated to sustain and enhance a connected forest landscape in the Northeast corridor of North America. And finally, a special thanks to our webinar producer, Bill Steelman here in Ipswich, webinar host, Hannah Moore in Nova Scotia, and co-host Cassia Foley in Montreal. And to our viewers, thank you for joining with us today. All the best.